26th of March,
Right.
Rabbi Furst.
Very good. Good morning. This is Rabbi Shlomo Furst here, Yeshiva Samanavshi here in Shalom here Zoom. This is our first year this morning. We're learning Hagada Shal Pesach. And let's see. We left off with the comment. Two points we wanted to clarify. If you remember, it says there, the Es Amalenu, Elo Abani.
Right.
So that's going back a page or two, according to your whatever text you're using. So Amalenu, the Amelis, again, Amelis is putting forth great efforts. We're taught a person should be humble but Torah. He should put forth great efforts in his learning of Torah. You need to try and learn as much as you can and apply yourself as much as you can. Think about it as much as you can. So how does that fit in Esa Malenu? That's a reference to the Egyptian bondage that we experienced in the Shibud Mitzrayim. So how's that the bunny? So the many Meforshim explain that children, of all the things that a person has in life, he probably puts more effort into his children, sons and his daughters, than most everything. I mean, it could be his career. Many times people invest quite a lot into their careers, but even their careers, it's probably not as an intensive investment of time, energy, thought, emotion, everything else you want to apply that the person puts into the raising of his children, right? And even when they're fully grown and on their own, a person never loses contact with the physical and spiritual connections he has with his children. He's always praying for their benefit, doing things to help them, right? So the efforts that usually we put forth through our children, that's a great, tremendous amount of efforts. So that is why children are called Amalenu, and it's a reference to, as the pasuk says, with Shenemar, called Hamben Yolod, every son that would be born, Hayora Teshlichuhu, that they would be thrown into the river. Call Abbas Tichyun, and all the daughters that would live would be left alive, live. So that's a reference why Amalenu was referring to the bunny. It was a terrible gezer that we were living under when that wasn't simply slavery. That was going beyond slavery. Right? Slavery could be a lot of hard work, but this is more than oppression. This is plain killing, simply murder. So, and the Chazal mentioned that when the Egyptians were drowning in the sea, part of the reason they Kadosh Baruch Hu picked the punishment of having him die through drowning in the sea was to take recompense for this cruelty that the Egyptians disposed upon the Jewish people at the time when slave is slave. You want to have a slave, but you take your slave and throw his children into the river. That's much beyond. That's not slavery anymore. That's simple murder. So we're very happy that the Kadosh Baruch Hu came to our aid and showed us. Each and every Jew could see the punishments that each and every Egyptian was getting at the Yam Suf, and they were very happy to see that it was just in the eyes of the Kadosh Baruch Hu. And that's Amalenu. Now we have another question. Also Shvatim, we call all the false gods of the Egyptians, Asa Shvatim, Ani Hashem. Right. So we were interested in the question that usually this explanation Shvatim, if you look at the Targum on that pasuk, on that pasuk, the Targum says Dinim. And as the question we posed last time, that Dinim are usually judgments are usually something which you judge a person or people for crimes, things that they could have done um, or avoided, and they did it out of whatever reasons it may have been, but they're judged because of their choice, right? Criminal is usually judged because of his choice to do the crime, right? So the question we asked was, if you're talking about the false gods of the Egyptians, they were made of stone and clay, gold and silver and wood. So inanimate objects of no real life to themselves. And they weren't doing anything on the surface, superficially, they weren't doing anything. So how does it apply that judgment should be made against the gods of the Egyptians? And to tell you the truth, I haven't found any clear explanation which is satisfying me yet. So I'd rather just leave that as a question for right now. And in the meantime, we'll continue on further. Okay?
Okay.
So I think that should bring us to Havarti Be'eretz Mitzrayim B'layla Hazeh. Correct?
Okay,
Yep.
what chapter and verse is that?
Lou, you'd like to
We're
pick
in
up
the
and read
Hagada.
it?
Mayor.
Oh, in Hagada. Oh,
So it's
I don't know.
in
if
the
I have
Magid.
it. Okay, I have to see. Yeah,
Let's see. Am I not hearing you or you're not hearing me?
no, I might have to, I don't know if I have one out here. Hold on a second. Okay, beautiful. Magid.
You found it, Mayor?
Well, I had, where are we starting in the, yeah, I got the Haggadah now.
Well, it's the pasuk that says Vayotzienu Hashem miMitzrayim.
Okay, hold on. Right there. Okay, the OTA, okay, Hashem, okay. I think
see
I
it?
have it. Yeah,
Okay, so a couple of paragraphs down, it says Va'avarti Be'eretz Mitzrayim.
yeah, more to. Oh, yeah, okay, I got it.
Okay, so I will pass through the land of Egypt, Balayla Hazeh, on that night, Ani v'lo malach, I and no angel, the Hikesi, Chol Bechor Be'eretz Mitzrayim, and I will slay every firstborn in the land of Egypt. Ani v'lo saraf, I and no saraf. Uvechol Elokei Mitzrayim, Eseb Shifatim, and on all the gods of Egypt, I will execute judgments. So that's what we just discussed.
Right, so you have to, so hopefully we'll have some kind of an answer before the Pesach, but if not, so you can bring it up for discussion. If you have nothing any other things you don't have to discuss, you can try and ask that question, see what your families and friends at your Seder will have to say about that.
Good idea.
But hopefully we'll have some answers. Even if we have an answer, you can still bring up the subject and ask there. for the errands.
Right. Velo hashliach. I am not a messenger. Ani Hashem. I am Hashem. Ani hu. I am he. Velo acher. And no other. Oh, it says I, not I am he. It is I and no other. So there's a famous question, I think. Why does it say I and not an angel? Don't we learn that the Malach HaMavet was the one that actually did the killing?
All right, so this is an old and detailed question. Right? What was taking place and who was doing what, right? So, to tell you the truth, I still don't have a satisfactory answer that I'm happy with. Okay. So rather than bring up go into the discussion about that now, let's leave it on hold, and I'll try and something I've been working on for years now to try and come up with a proper approach to this question. So hold it for now, and we'll hopefully with Hashem we'll come back to this as well. Okay.
Can I tell you the answer I heard?
Sure.
I heard that what Hashem did that no angel did and no messenger and so on and so forth was Hashem protected the Jewish people.
Right.
It wasn't when it says I will slay the firstborn. We shouldn't read it that way. We should read it. All the firstborn will be slain, except the ones that I protect. I and no angel. In other words, I'm letting loose the Malach HaMavet. I'm telling the Malach HaMavet, go kill all the firstborn. I'm not giving the Malach HaMavet an instruction that says, don't kill the firstborn of the Jews.
Right.
Because a Malach is like a robot in a certain way, that you program it to do something.
Right.
And it's somewhat what's the word I want? Single-minded, I guess. That's not really the word I want, but it's the only one I can think of. It's got a one-track mind. That's what it is. It's got a one-track mind. Killing
Right.
firstborn, killing firstborn. That's a principle in the creation, in the Bria, that Hashem has created. That the firstborn are going to be killed. And then what Hashem does is Hashem comes in and interferes with the program in the selected cases. And the significance of that is that this is not just something that happened in Mitzrayim. Excuse me, this is something that happens in every generation.
Mhm.
That there's a principle in existence in the world, and we can consider that to be an angel, Malach HaMavet, or whatever, that people die, civilizations die, nations die, people are destroyed, civilizations are destroyed, nations are destroyed. This is something that it's constantly happening in the world throughout history, even up to the present day. And what Hashem does is Hashem interferes and intercedes on behalf of the Jewish people in every generation.
Right.
And that's how we have managed to survive when no other nation has survived. No other nation survives the kind of longevity that we have.
Right. Okay. Once I understand what you're saying. First of all, could you check and see if Roy hasn't tried to come in? I got a message on my email. He was trying to come in, but I don't know if he's still trying it.
I don't see him. I don't see him trying.
Okay. All right. Fine.
Yeah, I don't see any evidence that he's tried.
All right. It was all right, we'll get back to that. All right, now, so as far as I understand your explanation. Conceptually, I understand it, and it seems to be true. The question is, does it fit into the pasuk though? In terms of understand what the pasuk is telling us. I mean, does that fit into pasuk pshat? That's what I need to try and work on.
Right. It doesn't quite fit in.
Yeah. So that's the one of the fallacies of this approach, that I'm trying to find something which would fit into the Pashup shot. I mean, again, the concept, the background, the assumptions that you're making are all true, and without question. The question is this a pasuk an illustration of that process? I mean, to a certain extent, yes. Fully, I'm not convinced that it's a full explanation of this process. Okay, let's hold on to it. See, again, also, there's this phrase was repeated again. Shvatim. This Shvatim was rephrased now. First time it was mentioned was in reference to the false gods of the Egyptians, and here it seems to be a general Shvatim. Actually, maybe not. It's also reference to it's repeated again. It's repeated again to the it's specific to the idols of the tribe. Okay. All right, let's continue on.
Okay. V'yad chazaka zo hadever kama shene'amar hine yad Hashem hoya b'miknecha asher b'sadeh b'susim b'chamorim b'gemalim b'barkar uvatzon dever kaved ma'od. Okay, so with a mighty hand, this is the pestilence. As it says, behold, the hand of Hashem shall strike the cattle, your cattle that are in the field, the horses, the donkeys, camels, the herd and the flocks. I guess the herd of cows and the flocks of sheep.
Blacks, I think blacks also include goats as well.
Sheep and goats. A pestilence, very heavy.
Right. Now, just one, why this, of the 10 makkos, now the 10 makkos, this was one of the few, sometimes the pasuk, as a darshaning, they're referring to specific makkos. So here, this is a specific, one of the specific 10 makkos, the Dever. Why this is singled out is to be, what was so, Yad Chazaka, why is the Yad Chazaka seemingly illustrated through this particular makkah? I'm not sure. Right?
Yeah, it doesn't seem like this is really necessarily the strongest one.
Right. When you think about the makkahs, see, a person's in ancient times, the worth of a person was very much, they didn't have bank accounts, they didn't have bitcoins, right? They didn't have stocks and bonds, right? So the person's worth was measured largely in the amount of livestock he owned,
Right.
right? That was a true indication of a person's worth. I mean, now most rich people would not be interested in livestock. I mean, you know, take Bill Gates. You think he'd be interested in having 16 million heads of beef?
Probably not.
Probably not, right? And so, he prefers probably bitcoins or whatever he wants to put his money into. But in those days, it was something. It was something real, something you could trade with, something you could sell, something you could get benefit from. You get from the goats and the sheep, you can get wool and fleece and milk and all these kinds of things. And it's producing things. It's you've got a factory right there. You got a factory of wool, you have a factory of milk going on there, right? And so those things were. So when these things were struck and taken away from the Egyptians, they were really stripped of all their wealth. Right? They were left destitute in terms of their wealth. Now, take for example, in contrast, let's say the first market, Dam, right? So Dam affected them in their everyone, rich or poor, affected them in their daily living. They couldn't have a drink of water. They couldn't wash their hands. They couldn't, take a bath. They couldn't. That affected them straight to the very physical existence that they experienced each and every day. And this was something which was more pervasive in terms of their whole financial and economic status. So maybe that's why Yad Chazaka, this one's picked out to be an illustration of the Yad Chazaka more than any of the other markers. But yeah, that needs, to tell you the truth, I'm not so happy with that. I'd like to find a little bit better explanation for that. 1 second. Let me just refer to another sefer. I'm going to get this sefer, hold on. Okay, so why is Yad Chazaka the prime example? Why is Deborah the prime example of Yad Chazaka? Okay. Das ist okay. Das Weg ist so schön. Okay. Okay, I don't see a clear explanation right now why Yad Hazaka should be specifically personified in Dever. Not sure. Okay, let's leave that for the time minute. Okay, let's continue on.
Uizro Nituya, Zo Acherev, Kama Shenemar, Vicharbo, Shalufa, Viado, Nituya, Al Yerushalayim. Okay, so an outstretched arm. This is the sword, as it is written. His sword drawn in his hand, outstretched over Jerusalem.
And now it makes it even worse because Cherev, there was no Marcus Cherev, right?
Right.
So now we're not even referring to at this point, we're not even referring to the Marcus, apparently.
And we're not referring to Mitzrayim. It says
Right.
Shalayim. What does that,
Right.
what does that have to do with anything?
Exactly. So there are those who explain Marcus that there was Cherev is referring to see Marcus Bechoros, when the Medrash brings down when the Bechorim, when the Marcus Bechoros was announced, and the firstborn heard that they were going to be stricken, and now like this is the last Makkah. There have been 10 Makkahs coming, one after the next. According to Chazal, one opinion says there was 3 weeks of warning and then 1 week of the Makkah, and another explanation in Chazal is that it was 3 weeks of the Makkah and 1 week of warning. But in any event, they were previous to the Makkahs Bechoros. There were already nine months. Either way, in either opinion, there are basically 9 months of this going on now. And each and every time Moshe Rabbeinu is predicted, and each and every time it's become true, right? It's become deadly true. And so the Bechoros, when they heard about the Makkah that was going to be leveled against them, they went to Paro and they said, "That's it, you let them go." They made a rebellion, and they were actually killing each other. The Bechoros said, "We're gonna rebel," and they were rebelling, and they were killing each other out. So there are those that explain that Cherev was the Makkah of the Bechoros, that they preceded to the Makkah of Bechoros themselves, and they made a insurrection, a civil war, and they rebelled against Paro and the rest of the Egyptians. So some explain that to be what's referring to as Herod, okay? But it doesn't explain the connection of Yerushalayim, right? We're bringing a pasuk. So the pasuk that's referring to Yerushalayim is not mentioning in terms of a Makkah per se, but it's just using that as an illustration of that the Zorah Natuya is a reference to a outstretched arm, or even with an outstretched sword. So that's the pasuk which is referring to Yerushalayim, just illustrating that point. But yeah, so that's the standard explanation, that it's not referring to any particular makkah that took place in Mitzrayim by HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but it's talking about the civil war. It's a remez to the civil war which ensued by the Bechorim fighting against their own people, the Egyptians, who wouldn't succumb to the request of Moshe Rabbeinu to let the Jewish people out. So, and the reference to Shalim is that it's just simply bringing in the pasuk that the yad zroa natuya yado natuya zroa natuya is a reference to a sword which is extended over, in that particular case it was Yerushalayim. Okay, let's continue on.
Okay, Uvamora Gadol Zo Gilui Shechina Kimashin Amar O Nisa Elokim Lavo La Kachas Lo Goy Mi Kerev Goy B'masos B'osos Uva Moftim Uva Milchama Uviyad Chazaka Uvizro Netuya Uva Moraim Gedolim Kechol Asher Asa Lachem Hashem Elokechem B'Mitzrayim Le'enecha. Okay, so with great awe, this is the revelation of the Shekhinah, as it is stated, or has God attempted to take to himself a nation from the midst of a nation with trials and signs, with wonders, and with war, and with a mighty hand, and with an outstretched arm, with awesome, great awesomeness.
Yeah, I guess there's more. Yeah.
It started out with Morah as awesome.
Yeah. Mooros. Is that how they translate it by you?
They say awesome revelations, but I don't see the word revelations. I see the word awesome and then the word great.
Well, Hamorim Gedolim Moorim Maorim, it's not Maora is something which is awe inspiring, something which is awesome.
Right.
This, 1 second. Um, 1 second. Yeah, tell me, yeah, you have a sitter, you have your weekday sitter or even a Shabbos sitter. You have a sitter nearby?
I do.
Okay.
You want Shabbos davening?
No, it's either it's the end of it's just it's the bracha the end of the bracha before Kriya Shema, the not the before Avarabba, just the bracha that you say just before Avarabba.
All right, let's see if I can find that. Okay, I see Ahava Rabbah. The one
So
before that is Lakel Baruch.
so you say the end of the bracha before that or Chadash Al Tzion Teir V'Nizkech Ulanu Meira Lo'oroi.
Right, Baruch Atah Hashem Yotzer Hama Oros.
Right. Yotzer Ha'Oros.
And my translation is luminaries,
Luminary.
referring to the, I guess, the sun and the moon and the stars.
Right. So how's that word different than this word we're dealing with now? Ma'orim Gadolim.
Good question. Uva Ma'orim. Okay, well, there's an aleph missing. More. It's not Me'or, it's more.
Right.
Morah.
Right. You see the aleph is in a different position, right?
Right.
You notice that, Mayor?
Yep.
I mean, the aleph is definitely part of the shorish. What would you say the shorish of both of these words are? What is the 3-letter shorish of both? They're 2 words. They're very similar. They're not the same, but they have the same. They basically are sharing the same shorish.
Memresh Aleph.
Right. Memresh Aleph. Right.
Yeah, if you look at the first word of this paragraph, that's all there is Memresh Aleph.
Which paragraph are you referring to?
Uvamoros Gadol. Uvamora Gadol.
Right. Right.
And I'm assuming it's the same word.
Right. So, and how do they translate that at the beginning of the paragraph?
With great awe.
So that's with great awe.
And here they say with awesome revelations.
Uh-huh.
So that fits with what you showed us in the Siddur, luminaries.
Right, luminaries.
Revelation and luminaries are some kind of similar concepts.
Yeah, right. It's used. It's referring to something different, but it's conveying a very similar concept.
Right.
So Ma'orim Gadolim, meaning revelations, meaning the revelations that was taking place there were many different things that were taking place in Mitzrayim, both in terms of what the Jews were experiencing and what the Egyptians were experiencing. They were experiencing many times the same thing, but from different perspectives. And so the many times, it's not always that way, but many times when a person's been is given insight, illumination, he's something's illuminated for him, meaning he didn't see it properly beforehand, or he didn't notice it at all, perhaps. Right? Sometimes that creates a sense of awe, a sense of wonder, a sense of perplexedness, that if it was there all along and he never noticed it, he's wondering about himself why he was not aware of it sooner beforehand. That we see maybe a good example. One second. Let me go to Chumash here. Let's see here. Yates. Questions for Yates. A second. If you want, if you have a Chumash Bereshis, Parshas for Yates. If you take a look that's in Parsha Chavchet, Pasuk, start with Tes Zayin and Yud Zayin. See the psukim there?
Yeah, I think so. Jacob awoke from his sleep
Right, go ahead, you can read it.
and said, surely Hashem is in this place, and I did not know. He became
Okay.
frightened and said, how awesome is this place? It is none other than the abode of God, and this is the gate of the heavens. So you want to know what the word awesome is coming from.
Right. And it says the puzzle. You
No, no Ra, no Ra.
No Noira, right?
Right.
So that so as this I'm just using this as a proof. Many times when something's been illuminated, something that what does it mean something's illuminated? Meaning the thing was there all the time, but there was not light. There was no light shed upon it that you could perceive it, right? So then whatever it was either a physical light, or it was a mental light, meaning now you looked at something from a different perspective and you realized what was there all along, and then you never realized it from that perspective, right? So that feeling is a feeling of awe. That's a feeling of awe, that something you see. A human being is primarily a consonant being. He's a Satan being. He has his mental capacities are what his hallmark is. The hallmark of a human being is his mental capacity. And so when he realizes that something was there and he wasn't fully mentally aware of it, and empirically aware of it beforehand, and now he becomes aware of it. So that creates a sense of awe in a person, because it shows him perhaps his fallibility. Number one, it shows him his fallibility, and it shows the greatness of something else beyond him, right? So that creates a feeling of awe on the part of the person, as you see from Yaakov Avinu, right? And that's the name of the place. The Har HaBayis is called Har HaMoriah, right? Which is a place of awesomeness, is a place of illumination, and that's the concept that this shorish is of the word is explaining to us. So yeah, in both cases, it's a situation of great awe, which was being revealed. So now, okay, tomorrow, we're gonna have to go back through this paragraph. So Gemara Gadol Zeh Gilui Shechina. Okay, so we're gonna have to see. I'm gonna try and discuss a little bit, if we can, where was the Gilui Shechina in Mitzrayim? Meaning, at what point can we say that there was actual revelation of the Shechina? I mean, how was that supposed to be understood? Okay, I guess we have Rabbi Levitz saying a shir now. I guess we should stop. 30.
All right, thank you, Rabbi.
Okay, Yeshkaya, Lou.
Very good. Okay, we'll continue
And-
tomorrow in Mitzvah Shem. Very good. Fine. Everyone should have a good day, and hope to see you tomorrow. Mitzvah Shem.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you so much.
Very good.
Thank you.
Bye
Be
now.
well. Sure, bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay.